Like, is there like something in our brains that tell us? I don't understand it.
Okay,
What is it?
let's go in the basics. A circadian rhythm is something in the body that changes with the time of day, and virtually everything in the body does change. So, for example, we have melatonin as a hormone that comes out and produced at night, peaks about 2 o'clock in the morning when we're asleep. Cortisol is a hormone that has a circadian rhythm that peaks around dawn. It's involved in waking us up. Body temperature is high during the day and reaches a trough around 3 or 4 in the morning, early hours of the morning. So everything's going up and down according to the time of day. And that turns out not to be a function of the day night cycle around us. It's actually driven by whole millions of clocks in the body, but with one master clock in the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. So we got a clock in the brain, a tiny little cluster of cells in the hypothalamus and one of the older parts of the brain, which is linked to the eyes so that it detects whether it's day or night, but it itself measures time, even if you didn't know what day or night was. And it's that clock that normally is synchronized by bright daylight, bright blue rich daylight, and is and is enabled to be stable when it is sees just darkness at night, so the body can actually detect the systems in the body, in the eyes that detect whether it's how much blue there is in the light that you see. So that system is an ancient system. It's found all the way through the animal kingdom and plants and everything else. And it's absolutely fundamental for timing us with the natural day-night cycle outside. In other words, our bodies, when they work well, march in step. The trouble is we've invented electric light, and now we've really screwed up all the signals. We also stay indoors during the day, so we don't see the bright daylight. We stay indoors during the evening hours, and this time we switch on our lights, and that is telling our brains that it's still daytime. And many of us, 40, 50% of people, sleep in the dark with some lights sleep at night with some lights in the bedroom. So we are really messing up our circadian timing system, and there's a lot of serious health problems that result from that messing up of the natural cycle.
I see. I found interesting that you mentioned like it's throughout the whole animal kingdom because yesterday while I was watching a couple of your videos on YouTube, I started thinking about my plants because I have a lot of plants here at home and some of them they require a certain amount of light, and if they don't have the certain time exposure, a certain amount of time exposure during the day and then during like no light during the night, like, they don't grow well. Like they get so clunky and they die. Like so, even the plants have it. I'm amazed. That's so interesting.
Yeah, actually, the first discovery of these circadian rhythms was done in a plant
Oh,
that opened its leaves during the day and closed them at night. And when you put it in a cupboard in a basement, this is done way 300 years ago by a guy called Demarian in France. He peeked in and he found the leaves were continuing to open and close, even though the plant was in, a room with couldn't see light and dark, but it was drifting away from the 24-hour cycle. So the internal clock still works in the absence of daylight and night, but and that's what synchronizes us normally. So if we put people, as we've done in our studies, in rooms with no windows, no clocks, nothing to tell them the time of day, their circadian rhythms will drift about an hour a day later. In other words, they'd be living on a 25-hour day without realizing it. In other words, the rhythms and the clocks keep on going on a regular cycle.
damn. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then we invented smartphones, which is basically blasting blue light into your eyes. Like some people spend 9 hours per day in their phones. I cannot even imagine how much that messes the whole thing up.
Yeah, we've really messed it up. And the evidence is it doesn't take very much of the wrong type of light at the wrong time to cause a lot of serious illness. The people who see the most outdoor light, daylight, get outside most, actually suffer fewer diseases, and they live longer, years longer, than people who never get outside, or very rarely get outside and are always indoors. Similarly, people who leave the lights on in the bedroom at night have much higher rates of heart disease and diabetes and cancer than those who sleep in the dark. So it's really fundamental, the light that you're exposed to.
Oh man, I only hope that a couple of my programmers friends listen to this episode because coders, I don't know how close you are to coders and programmers. They love to stay in the dark. They close all the blinds. When I was at university, like we had the coders room, like it's famous. They would just go in there and it's like they we used to joke like they're a little bit like vampires, like because they need to concentrate, they need to focus. That's the point. But yeah.
Yeah, I did a little coding back in my day.
Yeah.
I was working a great college summer job working for NASA. This is actually before the moon landing. And I was coding the program to decide how the blood flow would go in the lung with the astronauts. So, but that was on a very different scale. That was these large scale computers and paper ribbon and all sorts of stuff. Nothing like obviously the computers of today.
Wait a second. Dr. Martin, do you work for NASA?
Yep.
What?
Way back, way back, way back. Yeah. I was in medical school and I had a summer and I went out to Stanford, got a fellowship and worked at NASA Ames. Yeah. Yeah. And that was in 1968. So it was just the year before the moon landing.
That's
So
incredible. Did you have any influence in the moon landing project, in the Apollo missions?
yeah, I wrote the computer program that looked at the blood flow in the lung of the astronauts. That was my summer project. And in one, the moon has 1/3 gravity. Anyway, that's a long time
Yeah.
ago.